At some point in all of our lives, we must have asked this question, right? Why is the sea blue? We are going to find out why the sea is blue in this episode, but I'm going to go a little bit off track. Have you ever heard an adult ask this question? Why is the sea blue? Never, right? Is it because adults have become boring as they grow up? Whatever may be the reason, I have some good news to share that not all adults are boring. There are some adults who do ask such questions, and they are called scientists. And in this episode, we're going to tell you the story about the scientist who found out why the sea is blue, and his name is Sir C.V. Raman. His full name is Chandrasekhara Venkat Raman. So let's get down to the story. The story begins sometime in 1921 when Sir C.V. Raman was aboard a ship and he was traveling from the United Kingdom back to India. It was summer. It was his first opportunity to observe the deep blue color of the Mediterranean Sea. It was the first time he was seeing the Mediterranean Sea. So he was standing on the deck of the ship, holding on to the rails, and he wondered, why is the ocean this blue? Remember, I've told you there are adults who are not boring, and there are some adults who ask such interesting questions. Now, by 1921, when Sir C.V. Raman was standing aboard the ship and was wondering why the ocean was this blue, at this time, most people understood why the sky was blue. So a few years earlier, a scientist called Lord Rayleigh, he had found out that, when the sunlight enters the atmosphere, it's got many, many colors in it. I'm guessing all of you must have seen a rainbow, and it's got many colors, right? Like blue and red and orange and violet and green and so many other colors. So when the sunlight, which comes from the sun with all these many different colors, when it reaches the atmosphere, we don't see a sky with a stripe of green in one end or a stripe of blue and purple and red and green and blue and all of these next to each other. The sky does not resemble a multicolored zebra. And Lord Rayleigh had found out why this was so, because he found out that when the sun's light with all of these colors enter the atmosphere, the light rays get scattered. The blue color ones, which are the shortest light rays, they get scattered the most. And that's why when we look at the sky, we see blue color everywhere. Wow! Now back to our friend Sir C.V. Raman, who was standing on the deck of this ship and thinking about the ocean. Why is the Mediterranean Sea blue? Now, most people thought that the ocean's waters were blue because the ocean reflected the sky's colors. At least that was how Lord Rayleigh had explained why the sea was blue. But that same evening, a storm had begun to brew, the sky had begun to gather clouds, and it had become grey. And Sir C.V. Raman, who was still standing at the deck of that ship, looked at the ocean and thought, but the ocean remains blue even now. It hasn't turned all dark and grey like the sky, so that possibly cannot be a reflection of the color of the sky. So he took a pocket spectroscope. He also had a small little prism with him. What he did was, he looked through the prism into the ocean. Now, when he looked through the prism, he saw that all the light that was entering the prism converged at one point, and some of the light scattered. And the scattered light that he saw was all blue in color. So that's when he thought to himself, it could be that water absorbs all the red and orange and all of those colors and scatters only the blue and the green ends of the colors outwards. And that's why the sea is blue, not because it reflects the color of the sky. But he wanted to do more experiments to really prove that this was the reason why the sea was blue. So he went back home to Kolkata, which is where he lived. It took him 7 long years to find the answer to this question. In 1928, one fine morning when he was sitting in his laboratory, he solved the mystery. He proved exactly how water molecules absorb some of the light rays and scatter some other light rays. And this is also called the Raman effect. Was it fun to understand why the sea is blue through this story of how Dr. C.V. Raman discovered the Raman effect? Now, there's also one other reason why we're talking about Sir C.V. Raman and the Raman effect. February 28th is commemorated as National Science Day in India in honor of Sir C.V. Raman. Why Feb 28? Is it because it's his birthday? Nope. Is it because it is his death anniversary? Nope. It is the day Sir C.V. Raman sat in his laboratory and discovered the Raman effect. National Science Day is around the corner, so happy Science Day to everyone. Sir C.V. Raman won a Nobel Prize in the year 1930 for his discovery. This made him the first Asian to win the Nobel Prize. Now, even more interesting is that he was the only person up until then, a scientist of international stature, who had won a Nobel Prize and had studied exclusively in India. His entire education in mathematics and physics was in colleges in India. Most scientists in those days would have studied in colleges of international repute, typically in the United Kingdom. I'll leave you with one last trivia at the end of this episode, and this connects Sir C.V. Raman and Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, the father of India's space science.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4.
But before that, here comes our quiz time. 3 questions, and let's see if you were paying careful attention. Question 1. National Science Day is celebrated on February 28th every year in India. Which significant event took place on this day? It was the day Sir C.V. Raman discovered the Raman effect. Question 2. Which sea was Sir C.V. Raman looking at when he pondered this question? Why is the sea blue? The Mediterranean Sea. And question 3. Which is shorter, a blue color light ray or a red color light ray? The blue color light ray. Had fun answering all the questions in the quiz time? Like I promised, here's a story of how Sir C.V. Raman and Dr. Vikram Sarabhai met. Dr. Vikram Sarabhai was then studying in the United Kingdom, as it was common practice those days for scientists to pursue their education in the UK. Now, he had come home for his vacation when the Second World War broke out. So, Dr. Vikram Sarabhai was unable to go back to England. So, his professors in England suggested that he could continue doing his research in India, and the best person to guide him at this point in time was the eminent physicist Sir C.V. Raman, who was then teaching at the Indian Institute of Science in Bangalore. That brings us to the end of this episode. You're listening to What's New Today, a kids and family podcast channel, and this is your host Sangeeta from India. Now, listeners, did you really love listening to this episode? Did you enjoy finding out why the sea is blue? I have a small request. We would like to keep all of these episodes ad-free. So if you would like to support What's New Today's team in helping us put together such very good quality episodes, you could donate to Team What's New Today by clicking on a link in the show notes below. New episodes on What's New Today come out every Monday and Friday. And thanks for listening.